Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast. I'm Daniel King, and I'm excited about telling people about Jesus. Today, I have a great guest. His name is Eric Smith, and Eric leads the Smith Media Group, a marketing company that makes ministry its business. And so he helps to promote ministries and helps preachers to massively increase the number of people that they're able to reach with their message. So, Brother Eric, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate the time. Looking forward to just get a chance to share about all the many things God can help anybody to do to get the message of the gospel around the world.
Well, let's start at the beginning. When you were first starting out, you were the crusade director for the great evangelist R.W. Schambach. And I remember when my dad when I was just a little kid, my dad took me to one of R.W. Schambach's tent crusades in Detroit, Michigan, right in the inner city. There were so many miracles and signs and wonders. He was such a dynamic preacher. And you were helping R.W. Schambach to set up his events all over the United States.
Yeah, that was I cut my teeth. My full-time first-time ministry event with working with a full-time ministry was Brother Schambach, and I got saved in a small Assembly of God church in upstate New York. And our associate pastor, he was in the Assembly of God church for just a season. We became good close friends. Long story short, he eventually starts working for Brother Schambach. I was an electrician by trade. Brother Schambach was starting his first tent crusade in many years because he had suffered from congestive heart failure, and his tent crew had disassembled, and his crews had disassembled. So he was ready. He was back to back in 1995. He was ready to start preaching the gospel under that big gospel tent and pull the nets in. And they had no electrician. They had no sound system. They were launching on the Friday. I got a call on a Monday night from my friend about 10 p.m. saying, "Eric, hey, how you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing great, Joe. How you doing?" And we began talking a little bit. I said, "Listen, I'm calling you because Brother Schambach has need of you, sir." I was like, "Wow, well, what's he have need of?" He said, "Well, I explained the situation. We're here in Baltimore. We have our tent. It's going up. It's not up yet. We're behind schedule. We have no electrician. I don't know who to call. I know you're an electrician, Eric. Would you prayerfully consider coming down and helping us out?" So spoke to my wife about this. We listened to Brother Schambach on radio. That 15-minute broadcast was powerful every single day. And I talked to my wife, I said, "I want to do it." So went to Baltimore, was on a plane the next day at 6 a.m., got to Baltimore, and worked about 48 hours straight. Got the electric put up, the generators put in, got the sound system in. We did TV live that first night. And the very next day, unbeknownst to myself, Brother Schambach sat down and said, "Son, thank you so much. I'd like to hire you." And that's how I got into full-time ministry. And what an honor and a privilege. I worked basically doing anything initially. And within 6 months, Brother Schambach sat me aside and said, "Son, I've seen the way you handle and talk to people and pastors. I just love the representation, who you are and what you're about. I want you to be my crusade director." And then chills went down my spine, thinking, "Oh my goodness." So tell me, Brother Schambach, I've never done such a thing. What does that entail? "Don't worry, son, you can handle it." That's about what I got. And they said, here's the schedule. So from that point on, Daniel, I was responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget, a staff of 40, 50 people. And I was the one responsible for filling up arenas, Madison Square Gardens, those big tent arenas, getting churches on board. So it was baptism by fire, but you know what? It was the greatest experience of my life. Brother Schambach and his wife, Sister Schambach, became like a mom and a father to my wife and I. We traveled with them everywhere they went. We constantly planned meetings, and then we drove Brother Schambach many times from Texas to California or Florida. Meanwhile, I'm on the phone and making phone calls and putting logistics together. But what a privilege it was to serve him. Tens of thousands would come to Christ in those 10 crusades. One of the greatest evangelism tools I have ever seen.
Yeah, I loved hearing R.W. Schambach's preaching. He'd always say, "You don't have any problems. All you need is faith in God." And
right.
that saying has sustained me, because sometimes in ministry you face problems, or you think you're facing problems, but if you keep your faith in God, he will work things out. So then after you were working with Schambach, you also helped Steve Hill, the evangelist from the Brownsville revival, who had such a tremendous impact in Brownsville and then in other parts of the world.
Yeah, it was again, what an honor and privilege. Again, sometimes I pinch myself, the privilege we've had to help serve and be the armor bearers, the Aaron and Urs for these wonderful men of God. Yeah, Steve had reached out to me when I was working for Brother Schambach, and of course, I was very familiar with the Brownsville Revival. Over 5 million people went through that church in Pensacola, Florida. I think it represented like 162 nations, kings, princesses, senators went through there. There was just, the impact was amazing. And Steve wanted to take that message across America and literally around the world. And that's when he reached out to me. And what a privilege. I tell you, Steve was such a pure evangelist. Brother Shama, of course, great preacher, pull the nets in, see miracles, just you would see miracles that just make your head spin under Brother Shambach's tent in these services. Steve was just like, oh, it's all about souls, Eric. Let's go after souls. He would just start crying when you start talking about souls. And what a pure evangelist. I can think of several crusades where, we'd be in Riga Lafia. I was with Steve Phil in Riga Lafia. And when he gave an altar call, it wasn't like people would have scratch your head, make a decision. Should I go down? Steve was so passionate. I mean, veins be popping out his neck. You need to be saved. Run down that aisle. And people literally would sprint down the aisle, almost to the point where they almost crashed into the platform. They couldn't stop in time. It was just amazing. And thousands upon thousands of people would come to Christ in those services. And what a privilege it was to serve Brother Steve and for 12 years and be his crusade director and help him out with just all the structure when it comes to a multi-million-dollar budget, and of course facilitating crusades. And his schedule was, Brother Schambach, I travel about 200 days out of the year with him. With Steve, I was traveling about 250 to 275 days out of the year. So it was just a crazy pace. But he said, Eric, it's a short season. We've got to go after souls. We've got to do it. So what a privilege to serve those two powerful men of God.
Yeah, I'm so amazed at both Schambach and Steve Hill, how their fruit continues to this day. I've met so many people whose lives were impacted by them, and they are passionate about soul winning because of Steve Hill's passion. And so it's just so amazing. Who are some of the other ministries that you've been able to help over the years?
We've been privileged to help hundreds of ministries, Daniel. I mean, as you're very familiar with CFAM, Brother Bonke, we've had a chance to do several things with Brother Bonke. Loved his heart, loved Daniel Kalinda, what Daniel's doing right now. I know you've done crusades with Brother Kalinda as well. We've done things with Joyce Myers, Perry Stone, Feed the Children, just multiple other ministries. We just, I thank the Lord because, there's 7.5 billion people on the face of the earth. And I just sometimes I'm amazed that people contact us, Eric, listen, I've heard what you guys are doing. We want your help, and, to me, it's all about souls. The Bible says he who wins souls is wise. And what we want to do, and God's helped us, is to create some strategies and ways that we can get the message out the door. We can help facilitate ministry opportunities for literally hundreds of ministries on a weekly basis. Typically, on a non-COVID year, on a weekly basis, we have ministry taking place on usually 4 continents of the earth every single week. And so when I put my head down the pillow each night after working 16-hour days, I can rest at ease knowing, today we saw 37,000 people come to Christ, and the next day 24,000. And I want to take millions upon millions to heaven with us, because that's what it's all about.
Amen. Let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of what you do. And what you do, I think, is so valuable for ministries and for evangelists. Often people may be gifted in being on the platform, but then the organization, the behind the scenes, they need other people to come alongside them to help. And it sounds like you're that type of person who really helps put people on platforms so that the anointing can really begin to flow out of their lives. And so your website says that Smith Media Group is a one-stop shop for graphic and web design, branding, marketing, media exposure, and fundraising. Can you talk a little bit about why all those things are important for a ministry to have? Why should someone who's in ministry care about graphics and web design and marketing? Why is that important?
Well, it's important for lots of reasons. Obviously, as an evangelist yourself or other ministries that have a compelling to go all the world and preach the gospel. And I would say, of course, every evangelist has a heart, right? That's the idea. We want to get you in churches and in front of lots of people so you can pull the nets on a nightly basis. Well, we also have lots of pastors that have that same commission. They say, you know what, Eric, I love my church. That's where my first love's at, but I also want to go into all the world, preach the gospel. But people don't want to bring you in unless they have a little understanding of who you're about. And that's where graphics come into play. That's where a website that represents you well comes into play, because usually when a church looks to bring a speaker in, they look through several different layers. They go to a website. They want to see, does this website talk about this ministry? Do I have some videos I can watch? Then they'll go from a website oftentimes to social media. Let me see what this guy's posting. Let me see, the content there. If you have a live stream or a webinar process or a promo video, that's huge, because a pastor that brings an evangelist or a minister in, they want to get an idea of what to expect. What deposit will you leave if I bring you to my church? So that's where marketing and branding and these resources and assets that you can create, that any ministry can create themselves and should have on their platforms, is so important, because it answers all the who, what, when, and why. And a pastor, they're busy people. Again, the bigger the church it gets, the more busy they get. They want to know if there's a minister I should consider bringing to my church. I want to be able to look at something quickly to get an understanding what to expect. And those assets, the website, the social media, the promo videos, the live stream, the webinars, all those kind of things play a big part in helping those people make decisions.
So let's go through some of the things that your website says that you guys do, and I'll just fire them off, and you tell briefly what it is and why it would help a ministry. So the first thing is like targeted ad campaigns. What's that?
Yeah, that's where, nowadays people are very familiar with social media, right? With analytics on Facebook and those kind of things. Well, with targeted ad campaigns right now, we've created algorithms now where a ministry can be so specific. For example, everyone's familiar with terrestrial TV or linear television. That's if you're on Spectrum, Comcast cable, you put commercials, you put a broadcast on. Well, we now have, through set-top boxes, the ability to track people's tendencies. So I can be so specific when a ministry says, listen, I'm coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I want to do an event at this convention center. I'd like to share with Christians, I'm coming to town. So we can, through 4,000 different keywords, we can now go through algorithms, and we can pinpoint where people can be targeted. So they can be a part of an event. They can be part of a crusade. They can be part of a church meeting. And then it's not just through TV, but it's also through website. So now if you go to, for example, Fox News to get your news content, or you go to ESPN, guess what? Your ad's on there. If people now get their content now through Netflix and Hulu and Sling, OTT devices, well, guess what? We can create a campaign that your ads are there as well. So the beauty of the targeted ad campaign means that we can be very specific. We can be laser focused on getting your message out to specific people that we believe would resonate to hear your voice.
Another thing that you do, which I think is so important during these times of COVID, when it's hard for audiences to get together in one place, you help people with live streaming. How do you help churches and ministries do live streaming?
Yeah, we have our own proprietary platform. We try to keep it reasonable. It costs $45 a month. But in essence, it helps ministries get their message outside the four walls of your church. Obviously, if you got 200 people in front of you in the four walls of your church, because of live stream, you could literally have thousands of additional people you're having effect on. And that's what we want to do, right? As ministries, we want to be wise stewards of our resources and our time. And if we can put more audience in front of you because of a live stream platform, obviously it makes logical sense. We have hundreds of ministries tapping into our live stream platform right now. The live stream itself helps ministries to find out. We can show analytics on a monthly basis, showing the city, the state, the county, the countries that are tuning in. This gives these ministries the opportunity to begin to minister to them, encourages people to submit prayer requests in, and that bridge gets built. And as the bridge gets built, now you have the ability to follow up with people and minister to them and encourage them. And what a lot of people do, Daniel, with live stream when it comes to a church, it's also a perfect medium in which if a person's interested in coming to a church, they'll watch your live stream first. They want to, again, get an idea what to expect. And what happens is we find they watch it a second time, a third time. By usually the fifth or sixth time, they're coming to your church. Of course, pastors love that because now they get rooted in, become a member of the church. And when it comes to an evangelistic ministry, it's also a great platform for the simple fact that as an evangelist, you don't have a church that supports you. It's people that love your heart and your passion and your ministry. And the way they thank you when ministry takes place, when a miracle takes place in someone's life, or a soul gets saved, what they want to say is, hey, Pastor, Brother Daniel, I want to support you because I want more people to be touched just like you touched my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister. So there's a huge opportunity with live stream. And, in the day and age with everyone being on social media, which everybody, the brother is right now, not wrong with it. I think they should be on there. But what happens is you're populating Facebook, you're populating Twitter, you're populating Periscope, you're populating YouTube. What you want to do is you want to drive traffic back to your website, and a live stream platform on your platform drives people back to your platform, to your website, helps them become aware if you're a church about your children's ministry, your youth ministry, all the events going on. It helps become better familiar with you, and it gives them an opportunity through archive process to watch the message a second or third time. So if you're a congregation member, unfortunately, I tell these statistics to pastors all the time, and they get depressed. But people hear about 15% of what you shared in about a 30-minute to an hour message. So the beauty of live streams is they can go back and hear point 2, point 3, point 4, apply it in their lives, and good things will happen.
Let's talk about direct mail. In years past, direct mail was one of the main fundraising tools that a lot of big ministries used to use. And now a lot more fundraising is done on digital platforms. Do you think direct mail is still an effective way to connect with people?
It is. And obviously you can see based upon age what people's tendencies are, right? So if you're basically 50 and above, people still love getting that piece in the mailbox. And we're helping ministries right now. Honestly, sometimes we're bringing in hundreds of thousands, some cases millions of dollars, and it's coming still through the mail. People love the ability to open the letter up. They want to touch it. They want to read it. They want to put it down. They want to pray about it. Some people are scared of electronic opportunities, right? They're worried about their stuff being stolen. I mean, you hear those stories as well. But I think it comes to the point where the newsletter, the direct mail going to mailboxes is still effective. It's more cost efficient for ministries to do the electronic because you're not paying for postage and those kind of things. But again, for a lot of ministries, especially ministries who've been branded for quite some time and have loyal followers for in some cases decades, the traditional mail piece in the mailbox still makes lots of sense.
Yeah, in our ministry, we send out a monthly newsletter, and still about 80% of our income comes from the newsletter that we send out. But I find that younger people are moving more and more to digital platforms and being comfortable with digital giving. So I think it's good to have a mix between those two, at least in my experience. Let's talk about web design. I've gone to some ministry websites, and I know the hearts of the ministers. They have a huge heart for the world. They've done really significant things, but sometimes their website design is just horrendous. And actually, I've spent a lot of money this last year helping our website and getting it up to where it needs to be. Talk to me. What are some of the elements that should be included in a good ministry web design?
Yeah, well, again, your website represents you. It's really your biggest marketing piece. So for an audience that's becoming familiar with you, it should answer all again the who, what, when, and why. What your purpose is, what your mission is, what you're called to do, and having a basically WordPress is pretty much the most popular platform to use for websites right now. Video is a great thing to include on that, but again, a website represents you in a spirit of excellence. And if you have old content on there and you got things on there from 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or your blog doesn't look like it's been posted for 2 years, you kind of share a message to an audience that you probably don't want to share. And so it's important to have a website that, again, gives a prospective person, whether it be a pastor, looking for someone to bring in. You want to give them a little taste, maybe a promotional video is always a great thing to have because it gives that pastor an idea of what to expect when you come. They hear your preaching, they see the demonstration, they see you laying your hands on people, those kind of things. But it's also, it's one of those things where it should be a place that content constantly is being added to. So you're taking old content down, new content, because the idea is you want to drive people back to your website on a regular basis. If your content's not changing, why would they come back a second and third time? So there's the importance of really, it's a piece that represents each ministry. And again, a lot of ministries just get busy, and I know the situation. And what happens is sometimes it seems like the websites are one of the last things to think about.
Let's talk about speaker management. I have some friends that are in the speaking business, speaking for corporations, and they would often have a speakers bureau who would represent them. They would call different corporations and arrange all the details. And that's not really common in churches. Most uh, churches, most people who minister in churches, they'll personally call pastors and set up dates for them to come speak. But what do you do representing Christian speakers?
Sure. Good question, Daniel. What I did when I was actually still working with Brother Shambach, I would get called from ministries and they would say, Eric, listen, I feel compelled to go on the worship preach the gospel, but I don't know the first step. I don't know what to do. I don't want to knock on doors. I don't want to call a pastor friend and say, hey, would you let me come preach? So, what we've learned early on was that there was a real valid need out there that probably 2/3 of the ministers that I knew wanted to do more. They wanted to on a regular basis, get the message out the door, of course, pull the nets in, win souls, pray for people, watch God move in services and have lives being impacted. And goodness, decades ago, I launched our own speakers bureau with a handful of people. Now we represent well over 100 people that are preaching the gospel every single week, going here domestically and around the world. And the speakers bureau is a place in which now traffic comes to us. Churches and some corporate entities will come to us and say, look, and we're looking for a minister that preaches on this specific topic. They can get a chance to take a look at our list of ministries that we're assisting. And then they contact, hey, Eric, I'd love to have this speaker come in. Could you help us facilitate? We'd be happy to. And that's what we do. It's another tool that ministries can tap into that would allow us to tap into our experience. I've been to 52 countries. I've been to over 1,000 churches personally here in America. Out of the 1,665 mega churches in America, with that's 2,000 members or more, I think I've been to over 40% of those churches personally. So just because relationship and people have confidence, and if we recommend somebody, and the Lord, of course, putting His blessing on things, we see doors open up. And of course, the beauty of it is that every single day we have speakers pulling the nets in, and souls are being saved.
I was looking through some of the pictures on your website, and I saw many of my friends there. Joe Oden is there, Donna Schambach, Aaron Bagwell, and other friends that I've had for many years, and so that's wonderful that you're able to help them out. I know every preacher wants more places to preach because they've got a message burning inside
That's
to
right.
communicate to a lost world. You also do media buys, donor development, video production. You even help people with their books, with ghostwriting, and with book promotion. Would you like to touch on any of those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I talk to probably when it comes to books, I would say 1 out of 2 pastors I speak with have a book in their heart and spirit. Again, they just don't know the first steps. What do I do, Eric? I just don't know the next step. So we do a couple of things. Some pastors are really good writers, and then we assist them with writing the content. We become a ghostwriter in many ways. So we take what they've written, put chapters together, obviously put content and flow, that kind of stuff. Typesetting, we do the whole thing from start to finish, all the design, all the artwork, even do all the marketing, getting the message out the door and selling the books as well for these pastors. When it comes to TV, terrestrial TV is still a popular medium to get the gospel out the door. Everyone's familiar with TBN and Daystar and Word Networks and Impact Networks and CTNs and all the other ones that are out there. But we're also helping ministries get on ABC, NBC, CBS, and CW and My TVs every week. Again, lives are being impacted by this message that goes out the door. So, it's those are very important mediums. And again, if someone's got a 2830 produced, it also allows me, because we've thankfully have built such great relationships with so many different platforms. I can get most ministries on a platform that reaches about 10 million people a month at no cost. All I need are 2830. So we're all about just winning souls and helping ministries get their message out the door. And I believe as the Holy Spirit puts His blessing on things, increase comes, souls get saved, miracles happen, and most importantly, lives are changed. So yeah, those are all great aspects. Donor development, uh, you know, every ministry, especially evangelists, right? You don't have a church that supports you with the tithe and offerings. You have to go out and basically through partnership, uh, what comes in helps you to plan what I can do for ministry.
It's a
So
big part of being an evangelist is
oh,
raising.
it's a lifeline, right? If monies aren't coming in, you can't go around the world and preach the gospel. You just can't. The gospel's free, but it takes tens of thousands of dollars, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do these events. And so what the direct mail plan or direct mail is, here's what I tell people all the time. I'm a firm believer that money follows ministry. And what I mean by that, you show people proven ministry, people are going to want to support it. Start sharing testimonies of lives being changed. And what we do for ministries, again, because a lot of ministers say, listen, Eric, I could put a message together, but I can't write. I just can't. So what we do is we'll assist them. We'll put together a newsletter that's ethically based, ministry based, not crisis mail. You know, we're not going out of business in 3 days if this money doesn't come in. That's not the God we serve. We serve a God that's more than enough, right? That leads us in victory and triumph at everything that we face. So what we do is we put ministry ahead of them. We share what's going on with these ministries, the impact that they're having, and we let them know. As Philippians 4:17 says, Paul said this to the Philippian church when they were supporting him. He said, I'm thankful that you're supporting me, but I'm more thankful that the people are being added to your account because you're supporting me. Because every person comes to Christ through what I do is being added to your account in heaven. And that's what we do with our direct mail and our partnership mail and our donor base and our thank you letters and our fundraising letters for ministries is we show people proven ministry. We champion what God's doing in these services. And when people see it, they get behind these ministries.
You also have a really cool magazine that I love called Lead Magazine, and you've been kind enough to feature some of the articles I've written in it in the past. Who's Lead Magazine for?
You know, Lead Magazine is really for any pastor or leader that wants to just get some nuggets of truth, get some ideas or suggestions of what's working for one will work for you. You know, Bible says this, that, you know, when you're faithful in little, he gives you more. And he's not a respecter of persons, right? So what he does for Daniel Kalinda, he'll do for Daniel King, or he'll do for Donna Shambach. And so what Lead's all about is giving people proven ideas, proven strategies, ministry opportunities where, you know, you get a chance to pour your heart into someone, encourage someone. Pastors by the thousands, or ministers in general by the thousands, leave ministry every single month because of depression and giving up and listening to the devil lie to them that they just can't do it. They're a failure. You know, what we want to do with Lead Magazine is plant seeds of righteousness and encourage people and say, you know what, you can do it. You can go forward and just keep your hands in the plow and keep plowing because God's going to do great things on your behalf. And, you know, we're privileged. Almost 100,000 pastors receive Lead Magazine right now, almost 1.2 million people. Started 10 years ago with about 4,000 pastors getting it, and has grown organically to those numbers. So we give God praise for what he's done.
Wow, that's amazing. What a tremendous platform. Well, if someone's interested in what you do, or they want to talk to you more and find out if you can help them, what's a way that they can get in touch with you?
The best way to reach out to us is going through our website, which is smithmediagroup.com. Or you can go to, you know, if you're more the traditional guy, you can go to our phone number, 419-224-6010 is our office number. You know, I talk to pastors, probably over 100 pastors a week, and give counsel, give guidance, give tutelage. People wanted to ask questions. I'm here and available. My team are here and available to ask questions. You know, our heartbeat is to be the Aaron for ministry. So again, people like yourself, Daniel, could be focused on the prayer and study of the word. Let us handle logistics on the backside. Whether it be, you know, we handle lots of social media for hundreds of ministries. You know, we handle the newsletters, we handle the live stream, we handle the scheduling events. We handle interviews on worldwide television all around the world, which you've been on several of those as well. And, you know, that way you can just make sure you're doing what God's calling you to do. And our strength is the behind the scenes stuff. And what I tell pastors all the time is that, listen, if no one ever knows Eric Smith's name, I am perfectly comfortable with that. If I never have to grab a microphone, I am perfectly comfortable with that. There's times in which I have to talk to hundreds of thousands of people, put some structure with ushers and altar teams, that kind of stuff. But if I didn't have to do that, I'd be raising my hands praising God. You know, that's just not who I am. I'm forced to do it because it's one of the position roles I have to play. But, you know, what I want to do is, again, you know, for those that have questions, want guidance, want to have a conversation, I do my best to make myself available, my team available, so we can just give out counsel and help people any way we possibly can.
That's awesome. I love what you do because so many ministries need help in these various areas. And I found that ministries have strengths in one area, but they might be weak in another area. And so that's where someone like you can come alongside and help make the entire ministry strong. And so the marketing, the work that goes into making a ministry successful is so important. And many times people don't think about it, they don't really see it, but if it's missing, it's really noticeable in a ministry. So
It is.
thank you for what you do. It's extremely valuable and a great blessing to the body of Christ.
It's my pleasure, my honor. It's what we're called to do. Leonard Ravenhill told Steve Hill one time when Steve was a missionary evangelist in Argentina, and he was saying, he's watching, Benny Hinn fill up arenas of 18,000 people, and said, Leonard, I want to preach the gospel in front of 18,000 people, and he would call Steve Stevie, and he said, Stevie, listen, draw yourself a circle and stay inside your circle. And what Leonard meant by that is, you know what, you have specific gifts and callings. Don't be Benny Hinn. Be Steve Hill. And as you're faithful in being Steve Hill, God will bring more to you. And then about a decade later, the Brownsville revival took off, and Steve, was preaching in some of the biggest arenas around the world. So I encourage any minister, right, that follow what Leonard Ravenhill told Steve Hill. Draw yourself a circle, understand your gifts and talents, and don't divert from that. Keep your hands in the plow, keep plowing, because God is faithful to bring increase, and he'll be the one that opens doors for you. And what we find at Smith Media Group is that we love being the people that Bible says, Matthew 7:7, ask and keep on asking, seek and keep on seeking, knock and keep on knocking. What we like to do is we like to be the knockers for ministry. Say, listen, we have a great ministry. We believe it would be a great opportunity for have you come. And we, through our resources and through our contacts, a lot of them say we'd love to have them. Good things happen when these ministries go out. And more importantly, Jesus gets glorified in everything that they do.
That's awesome. Well, Brother Eric, thank you so much for being on the Evangelism Podcast. And thank you for coaching ministries and coaching evangelists and helping them to do what God's called them to do.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. God bless you, sir.
God bless you.
Daniel King is on a mission to save 1 million souls a year, but he can't do it alone. Would you consider sowing a financial seed today? To give, please visit www.kingministries.com.